From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana Siddiqui. Our top story tonight. Former U.S. President Donald Trump pleaded not guilty to alleged mishandling of classified documents. He was arraigned at a federal courthouse in Miami on Tuesday and placed under arrest by U.S. Marshals before being released. He was not handcuffed. It is alleged that U.S. government secrets, including nuclear secrets, were stored in a shower, bathroom, ballroom, and bedroom of his Mar-a-Lago estate. Trump faces 37 charges. Tax cut bills introduced by House Republicans will benefit wealthy Americans at the expense of the poor, according to experts. According to the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy, the poorest fifth of Americans would receive on average a $40 tax break next year. But the top 1% of the income distribution would receive a tax cut of over $16,000 on average under the legislation. Republicans have introduced three bills, one titled the Tax Cuts for Working Families Act. The wealthiest 20% of Americans would receive over $60 billion in tax cuts. The three measures would also reward foreign investors by cutting corporate taxes. House Speaker Jason Smith said savings from the tax bills would come from repealing clean energy tax credits. Illinois has become the first state to legally prohibit libraries from banning books. Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker signed a law Monday that blocks state funding for public libraries and schools that do not follow guidelines for removing banned books. The new law, passed by both houses of the General Assembly in May, guarantees the state's public libraries the freedom to acquire materials without outside restrictions. Pritzker said book bans are about censorship, the exclusion of people, ideas, and facts. The Illinois law comes at a time when calls to ban books have skyrocketed in recent years. The American Library Association reports over 1,200 requests to censor library books and resources in 2022. A bill to ban caste-based discrimination in California is headed to the state General Assembly for debate. Advocacy groups fear the Senate-passed measure could be overturned or amended. Senator Aisha Wahab, a Democrat from Fremont and first-time office holder, introduced the bill. The Senate approved it on May 11th by a 34-1 vote. The most widespread caste discrimination within Hindu society in India also affects the lower castes in the U.S. The lowest caste, the Dalits, are called untouchables by India's upper castes. Dalits who have immigrated to the U.S. say this discrimination jeopardizes the future of their families who want to achieve the American dream. The issue has come to the foreground more recently due to the rise of the Hindu nationalist movement in Indian politics. This movement is dominated by upper caste Hindus who discriminate against Muslims and Dalits. The caste issue has also become a major issue in Silicon Valley. In a 2016 national survey by Oakland-based activist group Equality Labs, 2/3 of Dalit respondents said they had been treated poorly in the workplace. U.S. boosts military presence in Syria. Details after the break, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. The U.S. has reinforced its military bases in Syria's northeastern Al-Hasaka province. Turkey's Anadolu news agency reported Monday these bases have been occupied by Kurdish militant groups. Citing local sources, the agency reported a military convoy of 40 vehicles arrived in the province after crossing from the Al-Walid border with Iraq. Since 2015, U.S. forces have allied with the Kurdish fighters of the YPG group in Syria. Turkey claims the YPG group is in league with the PKK, another Kurdish group active in the country's southeastern region. The PKK has been declared a terrorist organization by the EU and the U.S. In October 2019, U.S. forces withdrew from the area as part of Turkey's Operation Peace Spring to protect oil wells in northeastern Syria. Syria has been in the throes of a civil war since early 2011, when the regime of Bashar al-Assad cracked down on protests for democracy. The U.S. State Department is calling for the immediate release of a 19-year-old Uighur student imprisoned in China. A State Department spokesperson said Camille Wait has been detained since December for posting a video on a social media app. Wait is a student at a college in China's Henan province. She participated in protests holding up blank sheets of paper complaining about the lack of freedom of expression. The protests had been sparked by a deadly fire at an apartment building in northwest China's regional capital, Urumqi, that killed about 40 Uighurs. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman told The Economist authorities had sentenced Wait on March 25th. In 2017, Wait's father was sent to a re-education camp for 2 years. Wait also suffers from an eye disease. Her brother, Accuser Wait, who lives in the U.S., said she was scheduled to undergo surgery in Beijing this summer. A Swedish Appeals Court has upheld the rejection of a ban on the burning of the Quran. Earlier, a lower court overturned the ban imposed by police. The court said police had no legal basis to block two gatherings where protesters sought to burn the holy book earlier this year. In February, police refused to issue permits for two Quran burning attempts, citing security concerns. Far-right Danish politician Rasmus Paludan had burned a copy of the Quran outside the Turkish embassy in Stockholm in January. Later, two people tried to stage similar provocative actions in front of the Iraqi and Turkish embassies in Stockholm. Since last year, Sweden has been seeking to join the NATO alliance, but longtime member Turkey has opposed Sweden's admission, citing its tolerance for terrorist groups. Turkey also criticized Sweden for allowing provocative anti-Muslim and anti-Turkish actions under the pretext of freedom of expression. The ruling coalition of a right-wing party in Italy has proposed a law banning Muslims from praying outside officially designated mosques. The Brothers of Italy party is part of the government led by Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. The bill is being discussed in Parliament's Environment Committee. It aims to ban the use of garages and industrial warehouses as mosques. Italian daily 24 Ore reported Saturday the bill was rejected by opposition parties. They said the legislation amounts to a restriction of religious freedom. The measure stipulates cultural and religious organizations that have not signed an agreement with the Italian state cannot use the land as a place of worship. The newspaper added the country's Muslim community has not signed any such agreement with the state. Sami Salim, the imam or prayer leader of the Magliana Mosque in Rome, told the newspaper the bill discriminates against Muslims. A professor in Germany is under fire for racially insulting a Muslim student. Gulsen Kurt said the professor insulted her because she wore a headscarf. Attorney Fatih Zingal, who is representing Kurt, said the incident occurred during an economics class on the campus of Bonn-Rhein-Sieg University of Applied Sciences. The professor used racist language and compared the Muslim woman's headscarf to the swastika, symbol of neo-Nazis, Zingal said. Kurt said she was shocked by the teacher's racist language. She said most of the students reacted and left the class in protest. Kurt said the professor yelled at her and called her an Islamo-fascist. Germany has the second largest Muslim population in Western Europe after France. The country has seen a rise in racism and Islamophobia in recent years, fueled by propaganda from far-right groups and parties. German police recorded over 5,000 xenophobic and 610 Islamophobic hate crimes last year. Bangladesh is defending its plan to repatriate Rohingya refugees to their homeland in Burma. Global organizations have called on the country to drop the China-brokered plan, which is being implemented jointly by Bangladesh and Burma. Rohingya refugees in Bangladeshi camps have expressed concern about the repatriation. They said their lives will not change after being repatriated to Rakhine State without citizenship rights. Bangladesh is home to nearly 1.2 million Rohingya refugees, most of whom fled a brutal military genocide in Rakhine State in August 2017. Bangladesh's Junior Minister for Foreign Affairs, Shahryar Alam, said a process is underway to involve the United Nations in the repatriation plan. He objected to a statement by Tom Andrews, the UN Special Rapporteur, opposing the repatriation, citing human rights violations in Burma. International human rights groups, including Human Rights Watch, have called on the U.S. to halt the repatriation of the Rohingya. Nuclear-armed countries increased their spending to maintain more than 12,000 nuclear weapons to over $82 billion in 2022. That's 3% more than what they spent in 2021. According to a report released Monday by the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, the U.S. remains the biggest spender on nuclear weapons. It spent over $43 billion, followed by China at more than $11 billion. Russia was the third largest spender at $9.6 billion. India saw the largest increase in spending, up by more than 21%. One of the report's authors, Alicia Sanders-Zachary, said the amount spent on nukes could provide clean water to about 1.3 billion people worldwide. She also said spending on the nuclear arsenal has not improved global security. Before we end today's news, I'd like to make a special request. It takes our team a combined 55 hours of work daily to produce this news for you. It is news with a unique perspective, and you will find it only here. Sound Vision is the not-for-profit organization which produces it, and like PBS and NPR, it depends on your donations. Please visit muslimnetwork.tv to donate now, or click on the link below to donate. Thank you. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Salam and good night.